everyone. I'm going to be doing a post-Beatles listen to something by Paul McCartney. Well, I've listened to a few other Paul McCartney post-Beatles songs, but today it's going to be Uncle Albert slash Admiral Halsey. So, what's this about? Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey is a song by Paul and Linda McCartney from the album Ram. Released in the United States as a single on the 2nd of August 1971, it reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on the 4th of September 1971, making it the first of a string of post-Beatles Paul McCartney penned singles to top the US pop chart during the 70s and 80s. Okay, so I don't know if it was the first McCartney release after Beatles, but it was the first one to top the US charts. So kind of significant in that regard. It became McCartney's first gold record after the breakup of the Beatles. Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey is composed of several unfinished song fragments that Norwegian engineer Eirik Vangberg stitched together in a similar manner to the medleys from the Beatles' 1969 album Abbey Road. I guess I haven't listened to those medleys yet, but the idea is that different song fragments are what comprise this piece. The orchestral arrangements were made by George Martin. Still working with George Martin, of course. Well, this is going to be fun. Post-Beatles, Paul McCartney. And I kind of like Paul McCartney's music that I've heard so far, so let's see how this one goes.
We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. We're so sorry if we caused you any pain. We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. But there's no one left at home, and I believe I'm gonna rain. We're so sorry, but we haven't heard a thing all day. We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. But if anything should happen, we'll be sure to give a ring.
Okay. I'll back up. But, okay. This melody starts out so natural, so ordinary. We're so sorry, Uncle Albert. And it feels like, okay, this is going to be, but then the way it goes up, that's so unexpected. I might even say musically unusual. I'm trying to think if I've listened to any other piece of rock music that does something quite like that. I can't think of any in this whole journey that gives quite this effect. Up. It gets almost painful. It feels like it's going to get out of our range. We might just lose our voice up there. But it has this feeling of reluctance and hesitancy and apology and am I even doing the right thing? But somehow I and then, okay, the other thing I notice, these sound effects, thunder and rain. Okay, I haven't heard anything by any of the Beatles that uses anything other than instrumental effects until now. Well, of course, I haven't gotten all the way through the Beatles 150 series. I don't know if they ended up doing any of that. But post-Beatles, this is also the first time I've heard any of the, shall I say, the former Beatles use sound effects like this either. I don't know if this was a first, but it's kind of a surprise to me because, but at the same time, not that surprising because they've clearly demonstrated that all of them, each of them, whether when they were Beatles or surely afterwards as well, they're open to all sorts of experimenting and stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that that Paul McCartney starts using thunder or rain sound effects. Although the phone ringing, that wasn't an actual phone. That was him vocalizing. So he hasn't quite gotten to recording an actual phone in the studio yet. At least not here. I just had to comment and say I noticed the harp in there. I noticed it, in case you're wondering. I did notice, but let's keep going.
Admiral Halsey notified me he had to have a berth or he couldn't get to sea.
Okay, hold on. I thought that Uncle Albert was maybe Admiral Halsey, and maybe it was, but no, this is, okay.
Admiral Halsey notified me he had to have a berth or he couldn't get to sea. I had another look and I had a cup of tea and a butter pie.
Butter pie? The butter wouldn't melt, so put it in the pie. All right.
Hands across the water, water. Hands across the sky. Hands across the water, water. Hands across the sky. Little, little bee, gypsy, get around. Get your feet up off the ground. Little, little, get around.
That's hilarious. That's funny. That's entertaining. I guess I would say it is the most entertaining piece of music that I've heard any of the Beatles members put out after their Beatles days. Although, truth is, I'm not a very good judge of that since I haven't heard that many. But it is funny. I understand now how it could be pieced together. I'm not going to try to make sense of it as a continuous piece because obviously it's not meant to be that way. It's kind of cabaret. That's the word. It kind of has that sort of, I don't know. You could almost say carnival effect, but cabaret, yeah, show tune, a little bit clowning around, funny, lighthearted, and it is all patchwork. But they managed to put it together in such a way that it doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound like just stringing together some beads in any random order. There is the way they took this hands across the water, heads across the sky, inserted that several places. And the transition, actually, I'm quite impressed by that. Between "We're so sorry, Uncle Albert," but we haven't done a bloody thing all day. And then it switches to this sort of almost phone, but it's more than that. I mean, it was the sort of phone switchover, but then it turned into more like a radio announcement, radio show. And so it's like, in a way, it's like we're listening to some comedic radio show back before there were TV shows, you know? And I don't know. I guess I like the humor of it. I like the lightheartedness of it. And I like the creativity that is evidenced in here, which, as I say, it's not surprising. It's not surprising at all. First of all, because Paul McCartney is one of the Beatles. And second of all, because George Martin is one of the Beatles. And so you get that going and you're going to have something good coming out. But it's nice to see that he's doing something that is not just doing serious stuff, not just doing, I guess it was Lennon that was doing more political commentary stuff. But, you know, they have some fun. They still manage to keep, at least I say they, I'm broadening this out because I get the feeling that they all, each one of them, still manage to have some fun. But specifically here, Paul McCartney. After all his intense years of Beatles, he still has that sort of playful spirit of fun and humor. That's a bit impressive to me because it's so easy to get burned out after such an intense period, turning out, working so hard like they did in the Beatles years, and to come out of that and still find some spring within yourself to come up with more. Not just more beautiful music, but more fun, more personality. I guess that's the word for this. I love the personality of it. And of course, it's not just the music which is funny, but which truly strikes me as funny. But the lyrics as well, and as I said, I'm not going to try to make any sort of sense out of them. But speaking of humor and creativity and this sort of spirit of relishing life and the humor of life, I guess I feel like let's look through the lyrics a bit, and because I noticed some really, really great ones. I talked about this switching from personal note of apology as we, I don't know, left Uncle Albert's cabin empty, and or we left home and Uncle Albert was coming to visit, or whatever the storyline is supposed to have been there, but we've left and we're so sorry, Uncle Albert. Switches to a phone call, answering machine apology, and then from there you realize, no, this is a comedic radio show We're so sorry, Uncle Albert, but the kettle's on the boil, and we're so easily called away. And then suddenly, hands across the water, heads across the sky. What is this really? Hands across the water, I can understand. Reaching, traveling, heads across the sky. What is this? Are we flying by airplane? What is going on here? It's nonsense, and it's funny. And then I started to think, Admiral Halsey notified me he had to have a berth or he couldn't get to sea. And I started thinking, is this the excuse for leaving Uncle Albert in the lurch? But then we switched. I had another look, and I had a cup of tea and butter pie. Butter pie? I mean, you're talking to an admiral, or you're talking about your conversation with an admiral, and you're talking about, and I love the really exaggerated theatrical British accent here. So put on. And well, of course, Paul McCartney is British. He should be able to put it on. But I noticed that in most of their singing, they don't really, you hear shades of it because it is their natural accent. But this is way beyond the normal. It's clearly intentional. It's a character. Admiral Halsey. He had to have a berth. I had another look, and I had a cup of tea and butter pie. Butter pie? The butter wouldn't melt, so I put it in the pie. I mean, what is that nonsense? What is that? The butter wouldn't melt, so I put it in the pie. I don't know. It's as I said, it's funny. It's humor. It's nonsensical, overdone, and somehow it manages to all, and then we're back to hands across the water, heads across the sky. Live a little, be a gypsy, get around. Is this idea, which maybe is a good way to close the piece, because let's not take life too seriously. Let's not be all about, the heavy things in life, or the important things in life, or even seriously taking our lighter moments. Let's really be lighthearted, and all of this comes out in here. That's what I love about this piece. If this is all Paul McCartney's voice, some great different voices showing up here, and of course probably a lot of them are modified in the studio, but still great character voices. I wouldn't be able to identify it as Paul McCartney much of the time. Such fun. Well, that was my first experience with Uncle Albert / Admiral Halsey. They're not one and the same characters. I enjoyed it. Did Paul McCartney do any other funny stuff after the Beatles? Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite. I'll try to check them out at some point in the future, and I'll see you soon.